Welcome back to FatChat. I'm bloody excited because I've got a fellow Love Island alumni. Nate, welcome to FatChat, mate. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
So good to see you. Well, we were trying to tee this up for a couple of weeks, and I'm bloody excited because, obviously, I was on Love Island a few seasons ago. You've just come off the most recent season of Love Island, and I've got so much to talk to you about. So, how you
absolutely.
been?
Yeah, bro, it's been good. I mean, you obviously know how it is, like post-show, like, things just change in your life. You start, being more recognizable, and you start getting more opportunities and different avenues that you haven't really done before.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of, it still like feels really raw for me. So I'm still just getting used to it all. But all in all, I'm enjoying the experience.
So good. And like, it is such a weird thing because you go from like, say you're down the shops or whatever. And then all of a sudden for like, definitely the first few months when you're off the show, you're like the king. I was the Prince of Perth, and you're probably the king of Sydney right now. Like it's awesome how much like everyone's coming up to you. You go out, you want to go out every weekend because everyone's like, oh, it's fucking fun as.
Yeah. It's so funny. You don't realize how many people actually fall and watch the show, and people actually and love the contestants on it. So it was good. And I remember you telling me about that, how in the first like month out of the show, like it's very intense, people come up to you all the time and all that stuff. And I was like, oh yeah, like I'm sure. But actually experiencing it's full different. You really can't get from one side of the bar to the other side of the bar without being stopped.
Big time. That's so sick, man. Well, I've got, again, so much to talk to you about. So like a little bit of a backstory for everybody playing at home is that I received this phone. This was, what was it? Probably 12 months ago. Oh, less than that, 9 months ago, whenever it was. And I got this phone call, and I was coming to do a podcast, and I think I just told a story about some shit on Love Island that I did or something like a few weeks back on a podcast. And I got this call, and it was like unknown number. I picked it up. I'm like, hello, Joe speaking. He goes, oh, hey, it's Alex from Love Island. I'm like, fucking Alex from Love. I'm like, oh my God, this is like the boss of Love Island. Like he's like the big boss. You pretty much only meet him when you get kicked off. He like has a little meeting with you, you have a beer with him, and then you go home kind of thing. That's the only time you really get to see him. And I was like, oh, hey, mate. And I'm stressing. I'm coming to do a pod, and I'm stressing going, oh my God, am I about to get in fucking trouble for something, some story that I've said? Like, oh my God. He's like, oh, hey, mate, just got a favor to ask. Like, I've got this guy, we'd love to have him on the show this year. He's starting to get a little bit of cold feet. We're about to like lock everybody in. And just wondering if you could just like have a chat to him. And I was like, oh, okay, sure. And then we ended up having a phone call later that day, and then we were just chatting. Tell me from your side, sort of what was happening.
Yeah, I mean, like I remember that. I remember I got cold feet. The exact moment I got cold feet, I kind of messaged the management that I was talking to from Love Island, just saying like, look, I'm not so sure about it. Like, I'm like sort of thinking about just opting out. And they said, is there anything that we can do to help? Like convince you, like help, like answer any questions. I was like, well, if you can get me in contact with the guy who was in the same type of industry as me before going on Love Island, so I can talk to him about how it's affected his life after, and how it's also affected his business. Because to me, like business was like kind of everything at that bit of time.
Totally.
And they actually replied. I'm not sure how quick they called you, but they replied within like 20 minutes to me. I was in a PT session, and by the end of the PT session, they were like, all right, he's ready for a call around this time for like this, that. I was like, oh wow, they're on top of it.
Yeah.
And then the call came through, and then I think we spoke for, I don't even know, like
we spoke for an hour. Ages, man. Yeah, we were spoken for so long, and it was just like we were just running. You're just asking all the regular questions about exactly like you said, like how's it work? How'd it feel when you came out? Like, was it good? Was it bad? Like all that sort of stuff. And I was just like, we were just chatting about it, and at the end of it, but. It's funny because, like, I think when we were talking about it, when I first got out, I was like, oh, fuck, that was so hard. For me, it was just so hard for some reason. But then everything that came after was sick, all right? So, like, everything during it was hard work, but then everything after was awesome, which is what I was sort of telling you. And then you kind of go off the phone. You kind of you're like, oh, I'll think about it. And then you ended up doing it, which was great. So
Exactly. No, I mean, you actually helped me out heaps. Like, helped me prepare for it, because obviously I had no idea what to expect at all, especially being in there. And he told me a lot of things that, a lot of people, the viewers, don't realize about the contestants in there, whether, you're staying up late at night and, it's actually work for a large amount of the time.
Yeah.
And it's like a happy holiday of all sorts and stuff. So
Exactly.
it was a big nap before I went in.
That's good. That's good. I'm glad it was a good help. What do you reckon? Like, was the thing that you just thought, oh my god, I did not expect that from being in Love Island and doing the whole thing? What was the thing that you're like, holy shit?
Oh, good question. What was the thing that was like, holy shit?
And we got Georgia there as well.
Yeah, Georgia's here.
Man, we'll double it up. Double it up. Hey, Georgia, how you doing? How are you?
She's chilling.
I'm so good. I'm so good. Well, like I was going to come back to this in a sec, but like Nate has had the very similar Love Island experience to me because from it, I didn't end up with like when I finished the show, I actually ended up going out with one of the girls that I was in there with for a little while, and we dated for a bit, and that was great. So I had the full Love Island experience. Got the followers, got the blue tick, great. Got the girlfriend. It was awesome. It couldn't have gone any better. And same with you guys.
It was good. I think what I was saying about like it being like when I was like, what the actual like fuck was kind of just like the savageness of them being able to bring people in from Australia to Spain and maybe them in for like a day.
Yep.
And then they leave the next day or leave 2 days later. And I'm like, you've been in lockdown for like 3 days. You're on the show for maybe like 24 hours, maybe one dark day. And the next day you're out.
Absolute
and then
stitch, eh?
Out, you got 30 minutes, literally 30 minutes to leave.
Yep.
Like that's the part that kind of messed with us a lot, knowing that, you know, each night could potentially be our last night.
Yep.
And even when it was our last night, like you got to just pack your stuff and get out.
And
like,
the thing that I was like sort of telling you about is like the anxiety that you feel when you're in there. Don't you reckon it feels like if someone's going to be eliminated, it feels like you're going to fucking die? Don't you think?
Yeah.
Like it feels like that person is about to be killed. Like it's like...
like when someone's leaving, you like crying your eyes out like they're dying or something.
Yeah. It's just sad, and it's because you're so stuck in that world in there where it's like, you know, you want to make it to the end, you want to be in a relationship, you want to be in a couple. Like it's like, you know, shown and said to you so many times, like, you know, you're vulnerable if you're single, you'd be evicted from the island immediately, all this type of stuff. The words that they use scares the shit out of you.
Yeah.
So up to the campfires, I've never felt that anxious in my life.
Yep.
In my life. But,
it's crazy, hey, and you don't understand. I said this to you as well before. You don't understand the feeling until you're there, because this sounds crazy. Us talking, anybody listening goes, it can't be that bad. When you're there, it feels like you're gonna die, like your world is ending. Like it's like, you just cannot like comprehend what that feels like.
Can't explain it. It's that campfire, and you just go. They just throw you off. They throw you off the side.
Insane.
And then it's just it. Wow. And you always, whenever someone leaves, you're always wondering, like, what the hell are they doing right now? Like I wonder if they're all right and shit. But you just don't know because you can't talk to them.
Yeah. So like some other little show secrets, and I'd love to hear, you know, like what you found sort of difficult with this as well. You obviously you don't have any contact with your family members, which was wild. I will never go. I think I was away for like 41 days or something. I'll never go 41 days without speaking to my family members ever again in my entire life. Unless I'm a prisoner. Even prisoners get a phone call per day.
Yeah, they get a phone call.
So there was that, but also time feels like it's so slow. How did time feel like for you in there?
Like, and we all said it, like one day would feel like 3 days, and 3 days would feel like a week and a half at least.
Yep.
So much happened throughout those days that you'd be talking to someone and then they'll mention something that happened. You're like, fuck, how long ago was that? Like you say, like it's like last week or something, and it was literally the day before or the day before that.
It's crazy.
Time goes so slow, and also having no concept of what time it actually is just doesn't help at all.
Nah, it is so weird. The weirdest thing.
Literally, like we'd be going to bed at all hours of the night, and I remember you warned me about that as well, saying that you're going to be staying up late, and like you weren't joking. Like we watched the moon rise and set before we went to sleep. Like we watched the moon go away. Like it's like at that point you have no clue of the time,
and it's and how I describe it, it's like being on a bender without any of the fun. It's like you're fizzled at like 3 and 4 in the morning, and you don't know what's going on. And you just want to go to sleep, and you just can't, and they won't let you. You're like, oh, it's shocking.
They do it on purpose, because at one point in the night, it feels like you said, like it feels like you've been on a night out, and you just have like this like next bit of like kind of just like I wouldn't even know. It's like second nature, just like awakeness, where you just like not really there, but you are. and you're just kind of like going through it. And that's when obviously some of the saucy stuff happens.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know,
Yes.
to the room and you talk to the camera and you kind of tell what's on your mind and stuff
Yes.
when you're tired.
You have to be on all the time. I feel
Yeah.
like that was the hardest bit. Like the camera's on all the time. You have to be on all the time. You can't be like you're like a robot. Like you kind of have to be switched on. I think
Yeah.
that's the most exhausting part.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
And I think that, like, you know, when people say, oh, it was like people acting, when I was like, well, no, because you cannot keep up an act for 24 hours. Like, you can't keep it up. Like, even if you did for a little bit, you can't the whole day because you're so tired and you're so exhausted and it's on all the time. You just can't. You got to be yourself when you're there.
Absolutely. It all comes out like, you know, over time with the way that they film like the whole day, your personality is going to show to the fullest. Like you cannot hide it for that long.
Exactly. So there was like so many like great bits of conflict that you know, you both were involved with like, you know, different couples up, and this person was trying to, you know, cut your grass here and whatever. I was loving it. I watched every bit of it. I loved it.
Yeah.
But was there any moments that either weren't shown or were actually bigger deals than what it, you know, was on TV, or vice versa? Was there something that was blown out of proportion that actually wasn't that big of a deal? Like, how did it feel?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like for me, I think one of the main parts was a bit of drama that I had with like Zach at the beginning.
Yeah.
Where he obviously like cut my grass with Lucinda. And the thing is, there's so
that
many
was
things
so juicy, man. Oh my God, that was the best bit. I was like, when that happened, I was like, this motherfucker. Sorry, continue.
I think everyone was like that, which was funny to see. I knew that people would have that reaction, but anyways, I'll go on. So there was a bunch of things that actually didn't make the cut at all. For instance, one thing with Lucinda, because I felt like Lucinda like had a big part of that as well. Like fully believing him, not really coming up to talk to me before she made her decision. I remember when she told me, the way that she told me was like extremely, in my opinion, like immature. She actually she tried to make me guess what just happened. Like after she went up to kiss Zach, I'm coupled up with her, and she's like, "Oh, guess what just happened?" And I was like,
"What?
What do you mean?"
Wow.
And she's like, I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about in any way. And she's like, "Oh, I just kissed Zach." And I was like, what? In the...
Wow.
And that's one thing that I was like, and I remember when she said that, I literally said it as straight as I said to Zach. I'm like, look, even the way you just said that right now, I don't really fuck with. You and Zach can go on your ways, blah blah. And then I had a word to Zach. But one other thing that didn't get shown is that post Zach and I's little like, I don't know what you call discussion.
Yeah.
We actually made up. I told him, I was like, look, we're going to be in this villa together. I don't want to make it awkward for everyone, including ourselves. Like, we literally have nowhere to go. So let's just keep it fine between you and me. Let's not, get into it. Like, let's not let this drag on for whatever. And none of that made the cut. None of that made it in the scene. Even we dapped it up at the end. I think Ollie left that night. Me and Zach dapped it up. We're like, hey, let's just keep it nice. But none of that made the cut.
Yeah, right. How crazy. And Georgia, what about you? Was there like a moment for you that was like blown out of proportion, or wasn't on there, or cut out, or anything like that?
I feel like obviously there's like a lot of drama with like the Trent Nate stuff. I feel like a lot of that was shown, like a decent amount. Like they kind of followed that storyline for quite a few episodes.
Yeah.
I think what they didn't really show was like they made it look like I was switching between these two boys like aimlessly, but I wasn't. Like even Nate can tell you, like I was going up to him, being very forward, telling him, this has happened, this is how I feel, and he's like been on that train of emotion with me. And they didn't really show how we were able to communicate so well with each other.
Yeah,
they made it very dramatic.
Yeah, they made it kind of seem like stuff was going on behind my back, but most of the time, like as soon as she'd go up and have a chat with Trent, she'd come down and say like, oh, it was good or whatever and this and that. So I was very much in the loop with most of the things that was going on with Georgia. And even the part where Georgia came back to me that morning.
Yes, I remember.
Whole day, I remember, and it annoyed me because I remember as soon as she said that she wanted to be back on my side of things, I was like, oh no, I'm not going to just fold over. I'm going to need you to work for it. So she made me breakfast. She gave me like a facial massage. None of that shown.
Really? Wow.
I'm like, oh, maybe. But it just cut to the bit where I was like, oh, okay, yeah, let's get back into this.
So
you didn't look like you just took me back.
Yeah, right. That's so crazy. So like, I guess reflecting on that, and you know, there's people that come like, oh, I got a good edit or a bad edit or whatever. Do you reckon it in general summed up how everybody was in there to a degree, or do you think that some people got stitched up? Do you think you got stitched up? Do you think you came out looking all right, or what do you think?
So my thoughts on that whole situation of how people were shown is that I believe that the producers had an idea of like a character for a person, and they only showed scenes that fit that character. So if someone, you know, is, you know, not the best person at times, and they're like, we want them to be the villain, they're only going to show the villain roles.
Yep.
This person might be really nice, help someone out at one point. They're like, this has nothing to do with the storyline. This has nothing to do with what the viewers want to see. They want to see him be a bad guy. And for instance, for me, I can't complain with how I was shown, but I think I acted completely like myself. I don't really do too much that's like on the bad side of things. So I don't really keep that negative energy. So I think that my side of like my edit was good. Obviously, I'm a bit upset because they did kind of pick like a good guy edit for me, and they didn't show any of my funny scenes. And I thought I was really funny at times.
Yeah.
And then it showed into that, and there was funny things that went on, but it just makes it seem like I'm kind of just like was just like boring and always serious chats and always just like about like intellectual things, which is like kind of my character. So I think that some people like that. Obviously, everything that was said and done by each person was said and done by each person. Like no one makes them do that. So at times, like they kind of gave themselves that type of edit, which could be bad. But like I said, like the producers definitely picked that character and only showed stuff from that character.
Yeah, there's even people that are a lot like a worse person in real life, and they seem better on the show. It's really weird. They really do only really.
That's wild. And then like with like everybody post show now, has there been any drama or anything like that? Everybody's been pretty good and got along, or has there been anything juicy? Because mine blew the fight, like for lots of different reasons. There was lots of stuff that happened after. That the hardest part for me was dealing with the people on the show after. That was actually some of the hardest stuff.
It was harder than actually being in there.
Look,
like 100%. Like, well, it's going both ways. At times, people have like rekindled. Like, for instance, we were literally with Zach last night.
Yes,
and Zach was just us two at one point, and he sent me heaps of apologies post the show, whilst the show was on, and it seemed really genuine and like sincere, and like same with Trent as well. And George also received some apologies from some people as well, which was really nice. So there's that. But yeah, there is a bit of drama for sure. What is the drama? You know more about it than me.
Tell me the drama.
So drama.
We're turning into the So Dramatic podcast here at FatChat. So good.
Yeah.
Tell me.
I know what the whole internet scene, the Zach and Lucinda stuff, right? Like that's the most recent, I guess.
Yeah. So like about how like Lucinda how now has another boyfriend, how there's news that when they came out of the show, you know, she was kind of with him for reasons, you know, to like boost that publicity of like, you know, I came on the show for the right reason. But then at times, and this is what Zach has said, that her management team actually sort of tried to force them to stop posting each other on Instagram, or at least try to force Zach to stop posting Lucinda, because she was wanting to go on Love Island Games.
Right. Oh yeah, she did do that just recent, right? Yes.
Yeah. So she wanted to do a bit of that, and then look,
that's juice.
I don't know too much about like their type of relationship, but it wasn't the best. This relationship wasn't really fair in many ways. She kind of sent him on a bit of a spiral, like not a spiral, but like a bit of a roller coaster of emotions. Like, you know, didn't treat him so well. And I think he's affected by that. But like, I mean, I saw right through it on the show. All saw right through it on the show.
Yeah.
You know, one was really surprised except for Zach, but like now he understands.
Yeah.
I think there's a little bit of beef going on with the girls as well. I think that some of the girls aren't talkative to each other right now. I don't really want to say names.
So good. I love it. No, we'll leave it there. The thing with your show versus when I did mine was the show was live on TV. So it was literally like a day behind or 2 days behind or whatever. So your one was pre-recorded. So you actually got to watch the episodes like with your family and everyone, right? How was that? That must have been pretty cool. Did you have like any big parties or anything like that? Like everybody around watching the eps or?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, so I came on my first episode was like 3 weeks before George's first episode.
Yeah.
So I remember I had like a big viewing party at my house when I was living out of home. I had like all my friends, my housemates, my sister and her boyfriend and some other people come over, and it was pretty funny just to watch on TV that. Were you there?
I was there.
Yeah, she was there.
Sick.
And yes, we had a nice viewing then. But then after that, we didn't really do many viewing parties, but it was always so funny just like sitting down with your friends and then just watching yourself on TV and like
And not knowing what's coming up as well, because you don't know what the edit is, right?
Oh,
Yeah,
so scary.
not knowing, like each time you kind of wake up in the morning and you'd almost forget what happened this day, but like a couple months back. You almost just fully forget. So you get a bit nervous and stuff. But the funny thing is that, and I always try to tell people, is like it's almost as if you go on like a big holiday and all this stuff happens, and you come back on the holiday and you tell your friends like this happened, this happened, this happened, and then now it's actually just now they can just see it for themselves on the screen as well. So all the stories I was telling them, they're just watching,
So sick.
like me relive it.
Yeah.
You know, so it was good at times. It was, you know,
Hard
it was
watching.
hard to like relive those emotions, knowing how you felt at that time, and just watching it. But like the support from everyone, just watching it, and the support you get from your family and stuff was really good. But Georgia had a big party as well.
Yeah, I had a nice little launch party with my friends and family in the backyard.
So
That was-
good.
But yeah, like every night it was fun because like all the family, well, my family would be like, it's Love Island night. Like we always go into like the lounge room, like a little. It's like something to look forward to.
It was the funny thing was that my housemates were one of those guys that were saying like we've never watched Love Island, like similar to me, and never watched Love Island.
But then they were on every app. Yeah, they were on it.
Right, they were like, not start that until I get home.
Yeah,
like,
so good.
like I'm rushing home now. Don't wait. All this stuff was so funny.
So
I reckon
good.
surely you had so much anxiety coming back from Love Island, not knowing anything that's been like.
Yeah,
Nothing.
That
No, it was so weird. So like, it was like, so I had, because I like walked out, and just like left sort of like they didn't expect that to happen, so I left, and then that was on like a Thursday, and the next episode wasn't until the Monday, so then I had to stay and the whole reason, I just wanted to come home. I was just like, oh, get me home. And then I had to stay in a hotel room for 5 days by myself, still with no phone, because they were like, no, you can't call, you can't tell people like what's happened and all this sort of shit. So I had another 5 days in a hotel by myself, just like, I was sneaking out. I was in Fiji. I snuck out the hotel. I saw there was a computer at the front desk, and I was on like the first level, and I was like, okay, so my chaperone was next door, so I'd like, oh yeah, I'm going to bed at like 7 o'clock. All right, see ya. I'd go out the balcony, down the balcony, go to the front desk. I had some Fiji dollars. I was like, guys, I just need to use this computer. So I'm on Facebook talking to all my friends and family and that sort of stuff. And because they took my room key. They took the room key, so I couldn't go in and out.
Yeah.
So I was like locked in. So it was crazy.
Yeah, but like people used to like just like put things inside the door. So
I thought about doing that,
like,
and I did do that a couple times, leaving that. But the whole hotel room, like it felt like you're in like a really bougie prison, but you really can't get out. Like you get 30 minutes of like, I called it like yard time a day, where you gotta go
yard
gym.
time, right? Legit.
It's literally like yard time. It feels like you're like, and you're going back to the room. But yeah, dude, wow. So you stayed for another 5 days.
Another 5 days after, and then came back. And then once I got back, it was awesome. I was just like, oh, get me home. I just needed to see everybody, and then it was all good. But
nice.
I would have liked to have done what you did and have the viewing party, because there was about 100 people around at my place watching the viewing party, and and I only seen videos. It's a party for me, and I'm not even there. It was like a funeral. I was like, what the fuck? Like, it's like, it was so shit. But anyway.
Watching his own funeral.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. So all in all, were you happy that you did it?
Oh, for sure.
Of course. Yeah, definitely happy. I mean, obviously we came out together, which is good, and life's been good. And like the range of opportunities that you can get post the show, even if it's something as small as like a little event or going to some vivid thing in Sydney, it's just these little things that you kind of wouldn't have had if you didn't go on the show.
Yeah.
It would have been a little bit harder to get to that point if you didn't go on the show type thing. So definitely happy we went on the show. But yeah, like you said, I was kind of really similar to you, where when it was coming to my last few days, I was wanting nothing but to get out of the place.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it was kind of one of those things where it's like you go through the hard work, but And like I said, after it's really good.
It's good. That's good. And like I said, you've had the full experience where you go on in, you did the followers great. You had the full experience of doing the Love Island thing, which is so cool. You're never ever going to go do that again. Don't go do Love Island games if you guys break up or anything like that. Please don't. But come out with a girlfriend, which is great, and a boyfriend. How good. But the full Love Island experience, all wrapped up into one. So that's awesome. So happy for you.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. And big thanks to you as well. Like, I feel like I probably wouldn't have been fully convinced to go on the show if you didn't, tell it to me straight as well of, like, how it is on the show, because you hear from the producers the whole time, that it's the best time in the world. It's beach, girls. So having you tell them to me straight and having, knowing your success post the show as well, kind of like motivated me a lot. So big thanks to you as well.
No worries, bro. And if we really think about it, you guys wouldn't have met if it wasn't for me. If you think about it that way, all right? So let's reframe that and you remember that, okay? So when the wedding is, you let me know. I'll be the celebrant, whatever. Sure. Okay. Yeah.
We'll have that.
Sounds good. Hey guys, so good to chat. Good luck with everything for the next little bit. Enjoy the fuck out of it. Go to heaps of parties. Do all the events. Do all the stuff. Enjoy it. So glad that you guys are happy and together and found each other. How good. Bloody love your work. We'll have to get you back on, Nate. We'll have to talk some PT stuff at some point as well.
Yeah, I'd absolutely love to do that. Yeah, it'd be great. Thank you, Brad. I really appreciate it. You're the man.
Too good. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.